Our first speaker tonight, I'm very excited to announce, is Kevin Frankish. You'll probably recognize him from Breakfast Television and City TV News. His presence here to me speaks to the fact that we are all affected by mental illness, whether it be ourselves or someone we love. Kevin is very open and honest about his experience, and I'm sure he will make you all feel that you are not alone with yours. Without further ado, please help me give a warm welcome to Mr. Kevin Frankish.
Thank you, Jonathan. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, but how are you?
Good.
What? What were you going to say? By answering good, look how sad you made Dr. Best look. He's here to talk about cognitive therapy. And how many times a day do we ask that question, how are you? And how many times a day do we just say, good, how you? And we don't stop, This is our chance to interact with our fellow human beings. How are you? You know what? I'm feeling kind of low today. Or I'm feeling really good today. But we don't stop. We just are like robots and we go through the day. And I think about poor cashiers and other retailers who must say that, how you doing? I'm good. How you doing? Good. 100, 200 times a day, every customer that comes by. But if we are going to get serious about our mental health, we have to check in with ourselves. We have to be open to how we're really feeling. Because one of the problems that we have with mental health is we keep saying we're fine. We keep saying we're good. And everything is okie dokie. And we're convincing ourselves of that. Until one day, something just doesn't feel right. I mean, it's not like you're in pain or anything. But something is just, how you feeling? I don't know, doc. I can't explain it. And that's usually the first clue that you're having some anxiety issues or depression issues. I myself have severe depressive disorder and generalized anxiety disorder. And I live with it, and I welcome it, because what it's done is it's forced me to make some changes. When we have depression, and I don't have any medical education or experience, but it's my belief that depression and anxiety is fine. It's our body doing what it's supposed to be doing. And we're not listening. Anxiety and depression come as the result of years of just ignoring our body until it finally says, okay, I'm slamming the brakes on here. You cannot keep going on the way you're going on. And so we have to take our depression and our anxiety and live with it and accept it. One of the things people always ask me is, because I had panic attacks on the air. And I learned what to do about them. And it's not that difficult. In fact, it's overly easy. I decided that I'm just going to stand my ground. And I realized anxiety is not going to kill me. It's not going to hurt me. Depression is not going to kill me. I need to listen to my body. And I have found that since I just sort of accepted it and just let it run through my body and out the other side, that I'm fine afterwards. If your entire life you never ever sneezed, and no one around you ever sneezed, a sneeze is a violent act. We don't realize how violent an act a sneeze is. A sneeze can travel 50 feet. That's from our own bodies. But it's just normal. I sneeze. Oh man, that's pesky. I just sneezed. Okay, so you spend your entire life not sneezing and nobody sneezed, and then one day you sneeze. How would that make you feel? You would be like surprised, scared, I think fear would overtake everything. People would look at you differently. What was that? But it was just a sneeze. It's the same thing in a lot of cases with anxiety and depression. Now, of course, when we talk about schizophrenia and we talk about bipolar, it goes beyond this. But if we can learn to accept each other and get rid of the stigma around mental health, who decided that the brain is not connected to the rest of the body? Who decided that if you have a health issue, you go see a doctor and you don't mind telling someone about it? Oh, I broke my leg. I have the flu. I don't mind telling someone about that. That's okay. Oh, I understand. But if you say, you know what? I have some mental health issues. I actually had to go see a counselor. I had to go see a therapist. But you know what happens when I say I have panic attacks, anxiety attacks, whatever you want to call them? People always say the same thing. Me too. I thought I was the only one. And so we keep it inside. We don't share it. How are you? I'm fine. We don't share it. And so it just keeps piling up and piling up and piling up until we just can't bear it anymore. We can't keep it inside anymore. Yet everybody walking past us may have similar issues. I don't know. The one thing I really wanted to bring to light tonight, though, is how unprepared and ill-equipped our hospitals and health system is to deal with mental health issues. We are in the dark ages. I have one of my sons was at York University in August of 2020, living in the dorm there. And we did not realize it, and he would later be diagnosed with bipolar disorder. But he was acting manic one day. Not violent, not scary, not threatening. He was just not himself, and he was weird. He was acting weird. And so some people in the dorm called security. Security called police. He was handcuffed, and he was brought into Humber River Hospital in handcuffs. He was put into a room, kept there for hours, then released. At no time did anyone address the manic episode. They just wanted to make sure he wasn't having a heart attack, and that was it. And he was released. We were never called. He's an adult. The same thing happened a couple of months later, where he, again, was acting completely out of character. Again, not threatening, not angry, not violent. And the same thing happened. And he was brought into Humber River Hospital in handcuffs and brought into a security room, put into restraints for no reason. One of his friends called me, and said, "Did you know Bryden's in the hospital?" And I said, "No, I didn't." So I rushed there right away. They were in the process of releasing him. And he was in the middle of a manic episode. He was not all there at that time. And I said, "Excuse me, you're releasing him? And has a psychiatrist seen him?" No. Well, I said, "Shouldn't someone examine him?" Okay, and so they had a psychiatrist look at him, and he immediately admitted him into the psych ward. Now, first of all, he was kept in that secure room with a security guard outside. He never showed any signs of being violent at any point. And now he wasn't in restraints, but the restraints were left on the bed in the room, and they're just hanging there. Why was he treated like a criminal? What does that say about the stigma that we are all trying to fight around mental health? And it's like that. I've been to several hospitals now, and I've seen their psych wards. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Who's seen One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest? They're exactly like that. They just don't have the chain link fence. It's a nicer paint, but there's nothing but a hallway with no pictures. The TV is locked in a cage, kept on the Disney Channel. And the nurses and doctors stay behind glass, rarely interact with the patients. All the patients do is wander back and forth. You ever been to a zoo and you've seen these big animals, a tiger or something, just wander back and forth and back and forth and back and forth? Don't you feel sorry for that tiger? That's what we do to people who are admitted to hospital psych wards. The doctor who is in charge of the ward should never have been put into a position that he was in. He was arrogant. He did not like interacting with the patients. He got impatient with them all the time, told them to stop bothering him, got mad at parents easily. That was the other thing, too. As a parent, no one ever came to me and asked me how I was feeling. I was scared as hell. Is this how my son is going to be for the rest of his life now? Because I don't recognize him. You know, I've seen people like him on the subway and on the streets acting just like that. I was scared. And not at any point did someone come in and say, well, here's what bipolar is. Here are the different treatments that are available. But it's going to be okay. Now, luckily, we did get into CAMH, and they did a wonderful job with him. And he is fine right now. As long as he stays on his medication, stays away from marijuana. Because that's what touched it off with him. There's other ways that it's touched off as well. But we discovered that. And we just were never consulted. Now, speaking of CAMH is the only mental health emergency department in the entire GTA. Now, there are mental health hospitals, and they do have some walk-ins, but CAMH on Queen West is the only mental health emergency department in this city. And yet we have what's called the shadow pandemic. It is the mental health issues caused by COVID have exponentially worsened the mental health crisis we were already in. So are we prepared for this? I asked the nurse when we were at Humber River, how much of your intake in a normal night is mental health? And he said, about 50%. 50%, half. My son-in-law is a paramedic. And I've asked him, how many mental health calls tonight? Yeah, about half of them. Yet Toronto Ambulance cannot bring anyone to CAMH Emerge. Only police can. Or you can walk in. Only police can bring mental health patients into CAMH Emerge. That makes no sense whatsoever. What's that? Only if you live in the city. Yeah. We treat mental health patients like criminals. Now, I understand why the rule is police have to put handcuffs on people that are bringing in mental health issues, because they've had problems in the past. But they're not trained to recognize when they should and shouldn't put handcuffs on. They're not trained. Now, Toronto Police, I know Peel Police right now are having alternate units come out that deal with mental health issues, so police officers in uniform don't have to go out. So that's a start, but they are stretched so thin, and there's only a few of them, and they only work certain hours of the day. If this is how we're going to move forward, this place is going to explode. We are going to explode. If you want to save millions, maybe billions of dollars in healthcare, I can tell you a way to significantly lower the numbers of cardiovascular disease. I can tell you a way to significantly lower addiction, to significantly lower even some cancers, to significantly lower issues of abuse. And that is by spending just a little bit more on mental health and prevention. And it just seems like a no-brainer. But no, what we do is we just keep throwing more and more money at psych wards, at hospitals. We're doing a horrible, horrible job at dealing with mental health issues. We're lost. We're completely lost. And it's up to people like us to demand to be treated better, to not be treated like criminals. Because one of the biggest issues and one of the biggest problems with mental health is the stigma that is attached with it. People don't want to talk about it. They don't want to tell you that there's something wrong with them. And that is sad, and that's why we're here. That's why we feel lost. We feel alone. But the one thing, and this is, I always say this, what is the opposite of depression? That? No, I'm just saying, what's the opposite of depression? So if you have a depression, what's that? Happiness. There's one word I'm looking for, though. What's that? The lady back there. Expression. There's one word. Elation. The word I'm looking for, almost, hope. It is the polar opposite, and I'm sorry to use the word polar, it is the polar opposite of depression, hope. I lost hope when I was in that emergency room with my son. I had no hope. He had no hope. If you have hope, you know tomorrow could be better. Could be better, I don't know, but it could be better. And maybe the day after that will be even better. So always remember, for you and for your loved ones, anybody who may be living with any mental health issue, and it includes bipolar and schizophrenia, hope. You need to find yourself, you need to put yourself in a position that you have hope for tomorrow and next week and next year. Because if you don't have hope, what is the reason for carrying on? There is no reason. Remember hope, and always remember one of the most important things, you are not alone. You may have isolated yourself. You may have closed the curtains. But you're not alone. And the more you reach out and open those curtains, the more you will have hope and realize, wait a minute, we are in this together. So I thank you very much for your attention right now. It's been a pleasure for me to chat with you. And how are you? Tired? Yes, that's a good one. But listen to yourself. Check in with yourself. Check in with others. Don't leave people alone. But most of all, find a reason to hope. Thank you.